Can you drive your car while only looking at the rear view mirror? That would be a guaranteed way to crash. Yet, many businesses operate that way, focusing on financial reporting, analyzing past numbers, and missing what's ahead. Financial reporting tells us where we've been. Financial planning tells us where we are going. Financial reporting is like the rear view mirror looking at past performance. Financial planning, that's your navigation system, which is forecasting future trends. Imagine a company which wants to expand into new markets. Financial reporting tells them how well they've performed last year. But that's not enough. To make the right decision, they need to project future costs, revenues, and market trends. And that's where CMAs come in, helping businesses map out their future direction of travel. Planning, budgeting, and forecasting are the core tools that help businesses navigate uncertainty. Each serves a different purpose, just like different GPS features help you on the road. So planning is like setting the destination. Let's say a tech company decides to expand into AI-powered solutions. But where exactly should they focus? Should they do autonomous systems, generative AI, or business automation? Just like setting a final destination before a long journey, strategic planning helps companies choose the right long-term goals before making investments. Next, we've got budgeting, which is like fuel allocation. Now that the destination is set, how much fuel or financial resources are needed? The tech company must allocate budgets for AI research, cloud infrastructure, and hiring top engineers while ensuring they don't run out of funds before reaching their goal. Then you have forecasting, which is like road conditions and adjustments. Just as GPS systems predict road conditions, financial forecasting helps companies anticipate market trends, technological advancements, and regulatory changes that could impact their AI expansion. The question for them is, should they adjust their business model based on evolving AI regulations or competitors entering the space? Just like a well-prepared driver anticipates roadblocks and reroutes when necessary, CMAs help companies dynamically adjust their strategy, ensuring they don't just plan for the future, but they actively shape it. FP&A is where finance meets strategy. It's not just about budgeting, it's about ensuring businesses are ready for what's next. Take the case of Tesla, led by its charismatic CEO, Elon Musk.
To address this, what we came up with for Tesla was what we call the secret master plan. This is the first blog that I ever wrote for the company. We needed to figure out how could we, as a tiny company with very few resources, actually make a difference. And the only way to do this was to start small, to start with a low-volume car, which is why we started with the Tesla Roadster.
Tesla doesn't wait for problems to hit. By leveraging big data and AI, their models predict demand shifts, material shortages, and even geopolitical risks, allowing them to pivot ahead of the curve. This is predictive accounting, where you see regression analysis, scenario planning, and real-time data to anticipate challenges even before they happen. Let's say forecasting techniques help Tesla anticipate battery shortages. Scenario planning allows Tesla to pivot production based on market trends. And rolling budgets ensure resources are optimized in real time. CMAs bring the same predictive mindset to businesses, ensuring companies stay ahead of opportunities as well as risks. So what's the next move? Because forecasting alone isn't enough. Numbers mean nothing if they don't translate into action. And that's where the CMA steps in, turning financial insights into business strategy. According to Michael Porter, the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. Every business must decide which products to scale and which ones to eliminate. For example, the BCG Growth Share Matrix, developed by the Boston Consulting Group, helps categorize products into 4 key quadrants based on market share and growth rate. First, let's talk about stars. These are products with high growth rate and high market share, and companies should significantly invest in these stars as they have high future potential. Think of Apple iPhones, constantly innovating and dominating sales.
I just want to run you through some of the key points in that earnings report. Of course, iPhones, which account for the majority of Apple's revenues still.
Next, let's discuss cash cows, products with low growth rate but high market share. These are steady revenue generators that don't need major investments, and companies should milk these cash cows for cash to reinvest. Exactly like Apple does with MacBooks.
This is the new MacBook Air, and you can get a feel for how thin it is. Yeah, there it is. Amazing product here. Full-size keyboard, full-size display. And this is what it looks like. Isn't that amazing?
And now let's talk about question marks. These are products with high growth rate but low market share, and companies should invest in or discard these question marks depending on their chances of becoming stars. For example, the Apple Vision Pro.
So today, I'm excited to announce an entirely new AR platform with a revolutionary new product. And here it is.
The Apple Vision Pro costs a bomb. The prices will start at $3,499 or nearly 3 lakh rupees.
Is still in its early days, but it could be the next big thing. And finally, dogs. Now, these are products with low growth rate and also low market share. Products that are fading away. Companies should liquidate, divest, or reposition these products. Remember Apple iPods?
It's time to talk about the end of a musical era. Apple has decided it is retiring the iPod, more than 20 years after the device revolutionized the way that people consume music.
Once revolutionary, now they are discontinued. CMAs guide all these decisions, ensuring companies don't waste resources on dying products while they are doubling down on future growth areas. Another business strategy framework often used by CMAs is Porter's 5 Forces, developed by Michael Porter to analyze industry competitiveness and profitability.
The basic idea of the competitive forces starts with the notion that competition is often looked at too narrowly by managers. And so the 5 forces is kind of a holistic way of looking at any industry and understanding the structural underlying drivers of profitability in competition.
Let's use that framework to understand how Uber successfully built its ride-hailing business model.
Well, I think if I talked about all 6, we'd be here the whole time. But for example, one that we talk about for us is becoming much more of a company in terms of the lifetime relationship with our customer.
So number 1, the first force is the threat of new entrants. In ride-sharing businesses, anyone can launch an app, but navigating regulations and of course building a brand is not at all easy. The second force we're going to talk about is the threat of substitutes. Now, consumers, instead of going for Uber, can opt for public transportation, car rentals, or traditional taxis. The third force we'll discuss is bargaining power of suppliers. For Uber, their car drivers are suppliers. Now, these suppliers don't really have too many options, not too much bargaining power, but if they aren't paid well, they can switch to competitors. The next one, the fourth force we'll talk about, is bargaining power of buyers, where Uber's customers can switch to other ride-hailing apps based on prices, surge charges, and promotions. And that's why Uber has loyalty programs like Uber Pass. And then the fifth force, industry rivalry. This is the biggest force of all, competition. Now, Uber faces intense competition, let's say from Lyft in the US.
Another ride-hailing company entered the market. You had Lyft come into the picture, and they came around and said, you know, we're going to give Uber some competition on the lower priced end of things.
Or with Ola in India.
Are competing with Ola, it's a healthy competition because it forces us to improve our product, it forces us to be innovative, it forces us to reduce prices, and ultimately that's going to come at the cost of car ownership.
So while focusing on market expansion and technology investments to stay ahead, Uber also has to fight for dominance through price wars to hold on to the buyers who've got some bargaining power, and offer incentives to drivers to hold on to them who again have some bargaining power given the competitive scenario. Now, a CMA doesn't just track financials. They use tools like the Porter's 5 forces to assess market risks, identify competitive advantages, and help businesses make smarter strategic decisions. The CFO of the future is not just an accountant. He or she is a strategist, a forecaster, and a business leader. And the best businesses don't just react, they prepare. The best finance professionals don't just report numbers, they shape the future. Want to master the art of financial planning and analysis, FP&A? The CMA is your key to driving business success. Forecasting the future and making smarter financial decisions.